This question addresses the issue of directors of semi-state companies, semi-state agencies, state agencies and others under the aegis of the government and the minister. And specifically, I'd like to elicit really just no rhetoric but a little bit of fact out of this. And it's about the number of chairpersons and non-executive directors of state or partially owned state companies, of state bodies, of semi-state bodies and of state agencies on the state's payroll. The total cost of the state from the payout to these non-executive directors, including fees, travel and other expenditure. And I'd like to ask the Minister if he has any plans to reduce the number of these chairpersons, directors or their fees.
Thank you.
I simply want to know what they do and if they're worth it.
Minister, number 3.
In response to the Deputy's questions, the total number of chairpersons and non-executive directors of state or partially owned state companies or state bodies or semi-state bodies and of state agencies under my direct remit is 2. In the case of the Public Appointments Service, the chairperson is paid €11,970 per annum. Currently, the only expenses paid to the chairperson is in respect of travel from Belfast, which is in the region of €200 per annum, approximately. The other body is the Institute of Public Administration, and they do not pay fees to board members. It should be noted that while my department is responsible for determining the fee rate policy for chairpersons and members of commercial and non-commercial state bodies, it is the responsibility of each department to implement the approved fee rates for chairpersons and members of each of those state bodies. The fee rate for both commercial and non-commercial state bodies was reduced by 10% in 2009. The FEMPI Act of 2009 provided for a further reduction of 6% in the fees payable to members of non-commercial boards, and there are no plans to further reduce the fee rates payable to chairpersons and members of state bodies. Similarly, while my department has responsibility for policy on travel and subsistence, it does not have a direct role in controlling the application of that policy in each individual state body. That falls to the line department. The Code of Practice for the Governance of State Bodies sets out the rules with regard to travel and subsistence in non-commercial state bodies. Page 20 of that code states that non-commercial bodies should adopt and comply with, in all respects, with the circulars issued from time to time by my department regarding travel and subsistence.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Shane Ross.
Thank you, Minister. It wasn't obviously the answer I wanted, as he knows. I did ask about the ones that were on the state's payroll, not that was on his payroll. The question is about the number on the state's payroll, not on the minister's payroll. So it's regrettable that we come up with an answer like that. So maybe you could refer it back and come back with a fuller and more complete answer. And specifically there.
Well, I'll answer the question. I'm responsible.
Sorry, you can come back.
Deputy,
you can come back.
You're not concluded yet.
No. Maybe we could. The Minister could then help me in a broader way. His colleague, the Minister for Health now, when he was in opposition, wrote a very eloquent document about the number of people on state boards, when he said there were 2,416 sitting on state boards. There was Leo Varadkar. And that the 2007 state agencies created between 1997 and 2007. And what I'm trying to establish here, and maybe if he wants to answer as a member of the government, that's fine, but I do think he does have a responsibility in this, are these guys just what they used to call in the City of London grunt-a-month guys? Sorry? They used to call them grunt-a-month guys. They came in, they sat down, they took their cheque and they said nothing.
Thank you, Deputy.
And what performance criteria are they supposed to meet? To whom are they accountable, or is it just the Minister?
I'll come back to the Deputy again.
Yeah,
okay. Minister.
Firstly, just we have rules of the House and the law is I'm responsible for agencies under my direct remit. Each line minister is responsible by law and statute for agencies under their remit. But to be helpful to the Deputy, I've asked each line minister to reply directly to you so that you can have a comprehensive view, and I hope that will meet the point. Yeah, the other, I suppose, more substantial point you make is in relation to what do these people do who are on state boards. Well, firstly, we've set up an entirely new appointment system now, I think, which will be transformational, not instantly, but over time. And that is that each department is required, in relation to each state board and agency, to set out bespoke criterion for appointment the balance that is required, the skill set that's required, and then to advertise on the Public Appointment Service for that, and for the Public Appointment Service to evaluate all applications against the criteria set and then make recommendations to Minister. I think that will be transformational.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Ross.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the Minister for that. Maybe you could answer also, then how many of these people have been removed from their positions in recent years? How many have actually come before? I presume they're accountable to the relevant minister. And how many of them have been removed, if they're 2,416, as Leo Varadkar said when he was in opposition? It'd be interesting to know how many have actually been removed, or have they all got a clean bill of health and been reappointed every year? And the second question that I'd like to ask is this. In 2009, there was a Global Economic Forum held in Dublin Castle here, and the government of the day received volunteers from many of the Irish diaspora overseas to serve on these boards. How often has that been taken up? Has it been taken up by any of the ministers under this administration? Are they still looking in that particular area, or have they given up?
Thank you, Minister.
Firstly, board members are not appointed every year. They're appointed for a term as set out in the statutes that determine each state body, and it is not normal to remove people except for stated misconduct during the course. There would be consequences and liabilities accruing to the state for simply firing people, as the Deputy will be aware. And besides, the vast majority of people who take up these appointments do it for the good of the state and do a very good job. In terms of the point made about volunteers, as I said, there's an entirely new appointment system that is not confined to those who were privileged enough to attend the Diaspora Forum, but it's open to everybody, anywhere, who wishes to serve on a state board to make application and be considered for that. And I think that's a much more open, much more transparent. It is not, I am willing to serve. It is, these are the bespoke criteria that are required. Do you meet them? And if you do, apply, and you will be individually scrutinised by an independent public appointment service to judge whether you meet the criteria or not. But I do want to pay tribute to the many hundreds of people who give exemplary service to the state for a small remuneration in many instances.
Thank you. Deputy Sean